Hello, Bianca.
Hello, I am unmuted because
You
you
are
know that's
unmuted. We're
important.
here. We're
Yes,
here.
you're live.
So,
Hello,
what
hello,
do we got
stranger.
in store for everybody today?
First beverages,
Oh, first
because
beverages.
hydration.
Yeah.
And then we have some news.
Yeah,
Well,
we
not
do.
like like not
No,
news,
news.
but
Yeah.
like it's just that we think while we're looking through certain articles in this space that we think y'all should have to read them with us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
um,
yeah, we've got our guest today will be Anthony. He'll
we
be joining
do.
us in a
Yes,
bit.
yes.
Um,
I forgot
yeah,
about
you
Anthony.
forgot. Yeah, he's here. Um, so Anthony's going to be joining us. We're gonna do a little we all have like a news story that we think will spur some interesting conversation. Um, and then Anthony is going to give us a recap of Signal Singapore, which we saw the blog
Yep.
post that he did last week, and we're like, oh, we should just have him come on and talk about it. So he's going to talk about that, and then at the end he'll give us a little update on what's new in Twilio messaging. Yeah, but first, Bianca, like what's top of mind for you? What are you drinking? What's going
So
on there?
a little water in a mason jug. For some
Oh,
reason, I just feel like it's the most optimal, kind of vibe.
mason.
Not
We basically don't have cups at my house. We have mugs, but we have mason jars.
Yeah, like I just feel like I either drink from like a cool glass whenever I'm drinking my water. It just makes it vibrant. I do also have two other empty bottles of water because it's a water palooza. Not
There you go.
sponsored. I feel like I'm doing like air traffic control.
Yeah, you kind
Okay.
of got that vibe with the headphones too. It works.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. That's
yeah,
the vibe. And
I've
then
got. Yeah, what else do you got? You got so
I
much.
have I have lollipops.
What?
But these are special
I
lollipops.
feel
These
like
are
lollipops on stream aren't gonna work, Bianca. I'm sorry.
I know I realize,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is why I put it down. So I stole the lollipops from the kids section, and they're a
Oh,
decongesting lollipop. I
got
just
it.
feel like kids stuff is like so much better. Like I feel like it's cleaner products. So don't tell the kids that I steal lollipops from their section in the health store, but now it's on stream, so everyone knows.
Yeah,
But anyways, over to you, Alex.
yeah.
Who
I got
got?
my tea in one of my favorite
Okay,
mugs. The ball is rolling up from a D&D show that I watch.
great.
But this is a raw pu'er. Also, I learned sometimes they call them green teas, but they're still pressed into bricks. But we had a very important question in chat that I really need to address, which is Stephen Nick said, I'm between lemon and peppermint flavored teas. Can you help me lean in one direction or another? And this is a tough one, and I think it's
Wow.
a little bit about what's going on around you. Peppermint is a very cooling flavor to me. It's typically, I feel like, a little bit more of a summertime tea. So if you're, I think you're on the East Coast, but I don't know where. But if you're feeling a little bit warm and you want to cool off a little bit, I think peppermint's great for that. I think that for me right now, given that like the leaves are changing and things like that, lemon, which also isn't like a warming tea, but I think sometimes the citrus flavors can be a little bit warming. So I probably would lean lemon right now. But then again, it's kind of up to you on that one. But that would be my thought. And
That's so interesting.
yeah,
Peppermint has a more cooling.
it doesn't feel cooling. Like mint's like a cooling
Yeah,
vibe.
I see.
Although you get like candy canes in winter, so who knows?
Yeah, that's where I
Um,
think there's a disconnect for me because it's
cool.
like peppermint little vibes there. But yeah, I see the vision.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so Steven's telling me that his throat is a little itchy. Throw some honey in that lemon tea, maybe a pinch of cayenne or a little ginger. That would be my move. But it just depends. It depends what you're going for. I also we want to give a special shout out to somebody who's new in chat. We got Andrew.dev joined Twilio yesterday. He's the newest member of our team. We're so excited for him to be here joining us. You will most likely be seeing him on stream at some point in the near future. Not a set date yet, but we're super excited. He used to work over at Battlesnake and do some other stuff, and he's just going to be a great addition to the team. So welcome, Andrew. We're so happy that you're here, and everyone will be able to see your face pretty soon. So yeah.
Oh gosh.
Cool. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So we talked about our drinks. We checked in on our drinks. Do you think it's time for us to let's see.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring in our guest?
Yeah. Let's Anthony. You ready to join us? Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Hello.
Sweet. Anthony, I'm gonna ask you the easiest question that I think I'm gonna ask you today.
Okay.
Can you introduce yourself?
That's an easy question, but it's sometimes hard to answer. Right? Who is Anthony? No. Hey everyone. I'm a developer evangelist here at Twilio, and I work on our messaging platform, messaging product, based in Seattle, Washington. Hopefully you can't hear that noise in the background. It's my vacuum cleaner freaking out. I don't know if y'all hear it, but it's super loud for me. But yeah, excited to be on the stream. You can. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, it literally picks the worst time to go back into the dock, but yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super happy you're here. In a little bit, we're gonna get into Signal Singapore, which we saw your blog post last week and wanted to bring you on. But first, who wants to go first? I'm gonna start with our news segment. We each brought like a fun little bit of current events. This feels like middle school when it's like, what current events did you look at over the weekend? So like, yeah.
Okay, but Alex,
what?
Hold on. Let's run it back. If you were to give us the official intro, right? Like, how would you explain this segment? We got to get a little excited.
Okay. There's a lot of things going on, like especially in AI and tech and all these other places. And one of my favorite things to do is talk to other really insightful people about what is going on. So I'm super excited to bring a little bit of news that I'm thinking about, and discuss it with all you, and then see what all you guys are thinking about too. So what is going on? There we go.
I love it. See, don't you feel a different vibe? Like that was like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to read articles now. You know what I mean? Okay.
Touche.
You know, that was the kind of energy. Okay, so we could start. I mean, I'm down to start. And again, these all will be the same. We all have just like different vibes. And you can see like clearly what my priorities are. So we're kicking off with me talking about scammers. Woo! Okay, so this one. Okay, so who doesn't love a good scam moment? So this one's from TechCrunch. So again, we are actually just like reading this together. We're not going to fully read it together, but I think what was interesting. So it looks like the premise is that it looks like their mobile network operator introduced a chatbot. So the goal is to like frustrate phone scammers. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it basically mimics an older woman with all kinds of time to chat about knitting, her cat Fluffy. My question is like, can we tweak the voice too, right? Okay, so it combines various models. Okay. So this to me is like kind of interesting. I will say this to me, I'm not familiar with this like scam bait expert, but I do think like being able to use like someone who knows like the scamming game, AI grading for scammers. Yeah. So I think this is interesting because while I don't do this per se, so sometimes I'm admitting this. So sometimes what I would do is that if someone calls and I just don't want to talk to them as a scammer, I start talking in another, oh yeah. Okay. So I basically would start talking in another language. So like, I'll be like, oh, I don't talk English. I start talking with like a Creole accent. So I'll be like, oh no, sorry, my friend. I don't speak too much English. Okay. Thank you. Call back. So then I would do that. So I was just like, whoa, like this to me, it feels very on brand, but I think it's like a interesting way to kind of deter people. Mm-hmm. You know, it is an issue, especially from like for older folks, right? Like having to deal with all this new tech. So I think it's an interesting kind of solution. It also made me start thinking about, there's this company called TrueLink Financial, and they do like debit cards. They do debit cards, right, for aging population. But I do think like, while the whole voice and conversation deals with one part of just like scammery, I think it's just going to kind of be interesting to see like within aging tech, like, you know, like the connection points. So I don't know, like the kind of seeing the overlaps. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, are you down with AI Granny? Are you like, what are y'all kind of curious?
I think it's cool. Like, yeah, I think Steven posted in chat Kip Boga. He's a, I don't know if you've seen his videos, but he quite often does videos of this where he has like some sort of voice changer that makes him sound like a grandma, and then he basically just talks to scammers for hours and hours and hours, and his whole purpose is basically just to waste their time. So I think that this is essentially what that is doing, but like he's just, you know, with this you're able to scale it and just really waste their time at scale. That should be their tagline. Waste scammers time at scale.
Waste scammers time at scale.
Yeah. No, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, usually if I get a scam call, like I'm doing the complete different thing than Bianca. I don't really talk to him and like pretend like I can't speak. I just like, I don't say anything actually. I just pick up the phone and I don't speak, because I was always scared that they would like record my voice, and then like, let's say they did it like 100 times, right? Then they get like 100 different clips of me speaking, and then they could like clip up those bits and then like, I don't know, turn it into a sentence and then use my voice for like I don't know, something else. So
well, don't worry, now they'll just clone your voice from being on here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anthony.
Darn. Awkward.
I feel that too, and like I've been on the other side of this. So at one point, like in political season years ago, I was doing phone banking, and there was this one message that people would play sometimes where it's like, hello. Oh, hold on 1 second, hold on. And there'd be like noise in the background, and it would just go on. And it was after like 3 minutes, it was clear to me that it was just like somebody literally trying to waste my time for calling them. And like, I think there's the other side of this, which is like the whole like scammers, terrible. Like I hate that that's a thing that exists. I hope that we can get to a place where we're secure enough that that's not going to happen anymore. There's also a little bit of me that has some empathy for the people doing it, because I don't think they're doing it out of choice. I think a lot of them are doing it because they're forced to do it, or they can't do anything else. Like there's, I think John Oliver did a whole thing about that. So like, I do want to have a little bit of empathy for the people. That being said, anything we can do to make it less lucrative to scam people, such as wasting everyone's time with an AI granny, that will hopefully deter people from doing it at all. So
I'd like to highlight the little empathy part, because
smidge.
Yeah, smidge.
Just a smidge. I was like, Alex, okay.
I want it to be controversial.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So I'm glad you both disagree with me. Thank you.
No, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying just a little empathy, because you don't want to give them too much empathy, right?
Like how I'm talking a grain of salt empathy,
yeah.
if even.
Salt empathy.
Yeah.
Just think about the thousands of dollars that they're stealing from grandmas. Like,
that's true.
Right.
Yeah, Alex. The grandmas are the scammers, man. I don't know.
My at one point my grandma called me and was like, "Are you feeling all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "Somebody just called me saying it was you, and they were like, I'm anti-grandma. No, I'm pro-grandma, and I'm just pro-human. But they were like saying it was you and that they had a cold, and then it was something like they were trying to get money from my grandma, and she's like, "Go ask your dad." And they're like, "I'm too embarrassed." And then my grandma instantly was like, "You're not my grandson." I was like, "Cool. Well, I'm glad you saw through that one, Grandma." But yeah.
No, this is good. So Alex, what did we learn? We learned Alex is programmer. We learned we need to have mild empathy. No, I do think it's just like I like the comment in chat of just like how do we play around a bit more with like just clever kind of clever ways, right, of incorporating some of these solutions. So no, I like that. Okay, so this is where in the class I would go back to my seat and then the teacher would be like, oh, next up class, who else has something to discuss? So next up class, who else?
Anthony, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Ooh, me.
Anthony, your turn.
We're an unserious bunch.
Yeah,
truly.
When I was in elementary school, that was me. I was the kid that would be like, oh, me.
Me too.
Yeah,
never get called on.
Never get called on. And I remember at that age, I was like, oh, the straighter my arm is in the air, the more likely that
you're like barely on the edge of your seat. You're like,
yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay, so for my story, I don't really have anything to share. I don't have an article to share, but I don't know if anyone here has. I don't know how many people we have in the chat, to be honest, but
we got enough.
We have enough. Okay, yeah. So just talking about like OpenAI's recent releases. Like I think they had a pretty busy Q3. Very, very busy Q3 actually. So they, I'm just trying to read the chat here. It's hard to read the chat and like talk at the same time. That's like it's a whole skill.
You talk, we'll read the chat.
Okay, we'll talk.
We're your chat readers.
Okay. So for those of you who have not heard, OpenAI early in October they released 3 things that I think are pretty groundbreaking and pretty newsworthy. So the first one was the real-time API, and
which we played with last week.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. Cool. So if you're not familiar, maybe you missed the stream. I don't know exactly what you guys did. I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming. I'm sorry.
How dare you, Anthony? We followed the tutorial, took it up to a phone call. And then we played with the new voices and got them to show various emotions, which is pretty cool.
Oh, cool. What do you mean by emotions? Like
we were making up funny characters for the new names, and one of them was like super high energy. And then I was like, hey, I'm feeling really sad right now. Can you be sad with me? And the voice slowed down.
Oh, that's crazy.
Tone, and like it was pretty wild. Like, because I know in the Amazon Poly voices, you can like control some of those things manually. These are just like all prompt based, like whatever it's the prompt will help inform the vibe of the voice.
Oh wow. And it changes in real time whenever you say it, or
changed in real time.
Wow. That's very cool.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah. Wow. So anyway, just backtracking a little, if you don't know what the real-time API is, essentially it's just an API for you to like interact with their API as well as like Twilio, for example, and you could like build a real-time conversational chat with an AI essentially. And what Alex is talking about is instead of talking to like a generic like voice that just sounds very robotic, you could change the emotions, which I did not know about, but that sounds insane. And I mean, at this point, nothing really surprises me. But yeah, I'm gonna look at that later. But yeah, like right after they did that, they introduced Canvas, which if you haven't heard is it's really interesting what they're doing with ChatGPT. So like initially, right, they released ChatGPT and it's like an interface where you chat with an AI, and that was kind of it. But what they've done is they've really like expanded on this, and you can tell that like the direction that they're going is a lot more it's a lot more product and like platform based rather than just like, hey, here's like an API or here's an interface. We're actually building out like this huge platform. So I think that that's really interesting because it's because when they first released it, a lot of you saw a lot of startups coming on the scene and like basically like taking their API and then building on top of it, building on top of their platform. But now you're seeing ChatGPT actually implement those things itself, which is kind of it's I mean it's good and bad depending on how you look at it, right? Like I'm sure there are some startups that have actually already done some of the things that they're doing, but basically they're adding these features in natively to ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
So what Canvas is, essentially it's like having an IDE inside of ChatGPT. Oh, cool. I guess somebody is sharing their screen, which is awesome. Yeah.
It is me. It is I.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Yeah, so like I'm sure we're all familiar with like the typical interface of ChatGPT, but like here, essentially there's another context window that pops up and you can like edit the code itself in real time. So previously you would have to like send a chat message to edit pieces, but now you can like edit bits and pieces of specific areas that you highlight. Now I actually haven't tried it yet because I'm not subscribed to Plus or Enterprise or whatnot, but like I've seen a lot of videos on it and it looks so cool and I can't wait to use it. Very, very, very excited because like as a developer, like, you know, I use ChatGPT all the time to help me generate code, but like I always go through the same issue of like, oh, hey, I want to change one little thing, and then I have to send a message, send the AI a new message, and then it like does everything. But here I can just like edit a specific part. I can like convert it to a different language super quickly.
I feel like was this the thing that's like a little bit similar to GitHub Copilot, and also in some ways like a slightly different approach to what Claude was doing with the computer control, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, it's super similar to like Copilot.
Okay.
Well, I don't even know if Copilot. I haven't used Copilot in a while, to be honest. I just got my license again the other day, but because it expired and then I had to renew it. But
I feel like I need to do that now too.
Yeah.
I will say one of the things that this kind of brings up though, which is like this whole aspect. Okay, the screen was making me like, ooh.
Yeah. Here,
one thing that I think it just kind of brings up is this aspect of like, there's like the tinkering stage with any kind of new technology, but even this aspect of it, like first it was like a chat, right? But then even just like this hub of sorts. But I think this aspect of like, I think we're seeing it more and more, right? Which is folks are like, what problem are you trying to solve? And I don't know, I'm just kind of curious, like this desire to kind of like, there was an era where things were very like productized. And then I do feel like we're seeing things become more solutionized. I don't even know if that's a freaking word, but like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
I do. So we saw this a lot. We just finished our Twilio AI Startup Searchlight. The winners are going to be announced tomorrow. Very exciting. But one thing with that is we got a lot of people who are just adding a feature on top of an AI thing. And like at some point, like if you are just doing a voice-based stream for AI, like voice to voice, at some point you knew OpenAI was going to do that. There were all these things that you knew OpenAI or some other player was going to go ahead and do. And I feel like what you're talking about with the solutions is the ones that I think are more interesting are maybe implementing one of those things, but figuring out who's the market that needs it and selling it to them. So like a great example is one of last year's winners, Smith AI. It was they were doing, their tech was voice, and but they realized that their competitive advantage wasn't the fact that they could do AI voice. Their competitive advantage was who they were selling to and how they were selling to them. They were selling to like ma and pa, like local businesses, like plumbers and carpenters and things like that. And knowing that business and having that solution put together was the key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I even remember them asking when we were just going to develop the tech so they could stop doing it. Like, so I think that this kind of makes me think about what are all the different things that like, it's not about when you're working these startups, it's like who you're selling and what the solution is, like Bianca just said. Because at some point, if it's just a feature, they're probably going to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd agree on that. Like, I mean, it is kind of interesting though, because it's kind of like, hey, um, sometimes marketing and the way you kind of promote your business or your implementation of that uh, kind of outweighs the actual product itself. So, and that's a
Hmm.
discussion for another time, I think. But but I do see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that, but I do think this aspect of just like how do all these kind of competing needs play together, because it's like I'm not saying a person has to always be business minded, but if you're so consumed of like the solution, the business, how
Hmm.
like what's the market, I do think it kind of can limit how you get curious about how you're building. Just there does need to be a little bit of I
Yeah.
don't know. This is my freedom hands.
So
Um,
I
yeah.
have a question for you, Anthony, related to that.
mhm,
Who is OpenAI? Like, you're really excited about using this. You've
mhm,
played with GitHub Copilot a lot, but you're not a regular user.
mhm.
Who do you think OpenAI was trying to talk to with Canvas? Like, who do you think it
Ooh.
was that they were like, oh yeah, this is who this is for, and it's gonna just like 10x these people's things.
That's a good question. I think primarily it is for programmers, and but but at the same time, I think it's targeted at programmers, but it's beneficial for everybody, because it's the basic concept is, hey, I want to edit or enhance a specific portion of the generation, and that's essentially what Canvas
Hmm.
is right now. So I think it's super beneficial to everybody, but extremely beneficial for programmers.
Yeah.
But like the main reason why I think it's so interesting is just because you can see that you can kind of get a better sense of the direction that OpenAI is going with the product, because it's not just like, hey, we're just building this simple little interface. They're actually like making some huge iterations to it, and you can kind of tell, at least in my opinion, what they're going to do next is actually um, build out an editor itself, because
Mm,
right now you can kind of do basic editing, but
yeah.
at the end of the day you still have to copy your code, you still have to put it into VS Code, or you still have to like start up your own server or
Yeah.
whatnot. But like I think that that's the direction that they're going to go. They're going to make it into like a full out IDE, I believe.
Right.
um
Because
and
there is already a AI first IDE. I can't, I'm spacing on the name right now. I know I have it on my computer,
yeah, I'm sure there's
um,
probably tons.
but somebody, but we do. Craig Codes is a big user of Cursor. Thank you Craig.
Cursor.
Craig's MVP in chat right now. Craig uses Canvas. He says he loves it. He says he builds all of his demos in there. Super handy for maintaining context for you. I love that it keeps stuff and I can come back to it easily. So that's Craig uses Canvas. Like Anthony, we might have to try using it for some demos and see how that
Yeah,
goes.
I haven't heard of it, honestly, but
Yeah, Cursor is the so that was Canvas that Craig was talking about. Cursor is the AI first IDE. It looks remarkably similar to VS Code,
Hmm.
but you can plug in any AI into it, and then it will kind of do that for you.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
looking at screenshots right now, and it's essentially like what this Canvas thing
yeah.
looks like. I mean, this is like obviously a more um
Oh, Cursor is a
int-
fork of VS Code. That's why it looks just like VS Code.
oh.
Yeah.
So, but I think this kind of, while y'all were talking, it just made me think back about like similar to, I think with OpenAI, like the tech part of it, like I think when once it decided to go more mass market, I think the tech kind of got like, yes, people were playing around with it technically, but I think once it started to get like mass market, folks weren't, how folks were interacting with the tech became very simplified. So I do think kind of become having this bridge of both, right? In that, like, yes, you're engaging with something around like just chat GPT or things like that. I think that's what OpenAI started to become once it became like mass market, like
Mhm.
everyone's like chat GPT. So I think what this starts to bring up for me at least, which is like kind of having a holistic balance with between all the different stakeholders that might engage with AI. And like, I don't know, just I know my question, not my question, my comment may not make as much sense. But like I think it's interesting to see kind of this like not forgetting your people, not forget, like, I mean, even Twilio has gone through its own journey of like, you know, developer first, developer centric. And then I think you can easily go to the other side and you're like, no. And then you're like, wait a minute, hi developers. Like, you know, we're still a tech company. So I don't know. That's a thought that kind of brewed in my mind. I'm kind of curious, like your thoughts, y'all.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, they're not just researching and building out the models that they have or that they're working on. It's not just research, right? They're actually investing in developer tools and like making experiences better, which I think is kind of like what you're alluding to, because right, like I don't know how many employees they have at the company. Does anyone know? Like, is it? No one knows. Yeah.
No.
I mean, we can Google. And
let me Google it actually. Open AI.
I moved people around.
Employees.
There we go.
Oh wow, they're pretty big actually. They have like about 4,000 people. But yeah, that I don't know. Because usually when I think of OpenAI, I just think of like a bunch of researchers just building out these models, improving these models. But you could clearly see that they have whole teams of research, UX people, and like people building out experiences. So yeah, that's super cool. And then also I did want to talk to not just about Canvas, but search as well, because that's kind of like so essentially search is I mean, it's basically like a competitor to Google search, because so if you're not familiar, right, they release Canvas and then they release search like I think a few days afterwards, and basically it's their own search engine built into ChatGPT. So instead of just generating text for you, you can actually like go out to the internet, click on links. It has context about like stocks for the day, or like you know, like real things. And that I think that's crazy, because I mean they're diverging so much, and they're like going after all these players, right? They're going after Copilot, they're going after Google search. It's really I think it's very ambitious, and it's really cool. But yeah, I just wanted to like bring it up. I don't know if anyone has a
I have version. I have thoughts on search. So I do pay dollars for, because I just always think it's cool to just kind of see the different things. So this to me is like more of a UX thing, because I don't trust the internet too much. So I think when I started to see like bits and pieces of the internet, and I'm just like, I don't know how much I trust this site, or I don't know how much. So like, I get it that it was pulling from that. I do think it is best used with things like, definitely things around stocks. So one of the things for me I was playing around with was kind of this aspect of just like tracking trends around different stocks or things like that, right? Like even just like having it be an investor. So I do this thing where I'll just be like, hey, write me a brief on this company. Like, what are some opportunities? What are some concerns that you have? So I did like that it was able to incorporate that. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just like, it messed up the vibe a little bit. Really? I was just like, you pulled data from the internet. You know, even though again, it's already doing that, but I don't want to know the behind the scenes. I don't want to know that you went online and you pulled some data, because then I'm now questioning like the integrity of that website that you're using for X, Y, or Z. So I think it's more of just like a UX thing for me, which is like, I think when you go on Google and you search a thing, I'm able to kind of like filter out, okay, this website seems pretty legit versus this other website.
Like we've learned how to be on the internet. You don't totally trust AI to have that same just what's the word? Like just discernment that you have.
Yeah. So okay, that's the word. Okay. Yeah. I think for me, like, I don't know AI's like internet discernment. Like I can tell the quality or the sites that I tend to like, but I think this is where you start to tweak it more and more. I think once it starts to connect to other things, like it just learns you the same way Google did. I do like the melding the melding of the two. But yeah.
It's really great when it's low stakes, right? Like if you're just like I bet that you just searched how many employees are there at OpenAI, and then Gemini put at the top a summary that said 4,000. I'm like,
yeah.
It's low stakes, but like I could see for higher stake things like, hey, I'm making an investment. This is my money. You want to get a little deeper, and you want to make sure that you know where it's pulling from, and it's pulling from the right places. So I think there's some balance there.
Yeah, like I haven't played with it, but my assumption is that like it's not gonna search out like everything at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like it's probably limited to like those low stake things, Alex. Like, oh, what's the weather? Oh, what are the current stocks? Like basic things. That's my assumption. Because like if it just searched everything, like you're just like what you're saying, Bianca, that could be like. Right, it could be,
but it can search everything, and that's the thing. Like I have here's a sad example. I have a friend who's a doctor, and another friend who is a power user of ChatGPT, and occasionally that power user of ChatGPT will message the doctor friend and be like, "Hey, I've got this medical thing. Can you what do you think?" Which is great. Like I love having doctor friends that I can go ask questions to as well. It's a joy of being an adult. But occasionally having doctor friends, but occasionally he'll be like, well, ChatGPT said something different and I'm going to go with ChatGPT. And it pisses the doctor off so much. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's all this knowledge, but again, where's it coming from? And like, what's the context? And I like see that. And I'm like, I just shake my head. Cause I'm like, man, like if you're gonna like like, you're just purely looking for confirmation. Just don't ask your friend. Like you're like, but like, I think the context for which we're using it is really important, and knowing where to trust it and when is super important.
Yeah, I think but what that to me goes into like this other conversation, which is like, how much power do these tools have, right? Like, because at the end, like, because
as much as you give them,
but at the same time, like, if say like, the model's like, well, we prioritize all our weather things. Like, if AccuWeather is like, well, we'll pay you more dollars. I just feel like with advertising and business models, I think this is where, like, I mean, they're probably already they're dealing with it currently, which is a lot of the stuff around like business knowledge, truth, like what can it be bought, can it like even stuff around like when you're purely research, it's just like it's research, but then I feel like there are all these kind of factors that start to come in. So then it's like we even see it with Google, right? Like Google, I'm not surprised if like in a few months, years, right, the search for AI results that they give you are like sponsored, right? Like to that, like to the highest person, or that they'll put someone up there depending on how much they pay. So then to me, I'm just like, it's like a weird dynamic, because anything can be bought, right? Like positioning can be bought, but capitalism.
Yay!
Okay.
Let's I'm gonna move on to my news story now. Thank you, Anthony. That was great. I'm glad that was good discussion.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring up a news story, but the headline is not exactly what I want to talk about. So there was this headline that came out a few days ago that was Salesforce set to hire 1,000+ employees to keep up with Agentforce demand. Agentforce, in some ways, being their like AI salesperson. And then the internet kind of had a fun day with this and was like, Salesforce hires 1,000 people to sell their AI salesperson. Just writing this out sounds like a joke. And I think that does sound like a joke when you look at it that way. But then you have this one. AI is good for nothing without people. And what I really want to use this to spark the conversation of is, I think we talk so much about how AI can replace people, like replace support staff. And to some extent that's there. But I really think at the end of the day, and there's too many weird things on this on Twitter, or X, whatever. So I'm gonna hide that. It's too much for me. But in the side. But like, I think it brings up the augmentation versus replacement, right? Is AI taking our jobs or making us better? And my take on this, and since I brought it up, I'll share it. I think that when you're, we're always looking for like that 10x employee, that 10x salesperson, that 10x coder, whatever it is. I think that this can probably bump that person up to maybe a 20x, maybe it bumps a 5x to a 10x. I think that the good people, it makes better. but I don't think that it just blanket replaces everybody. I think that like when you get the AI in the right place, it makes all the people better. It makes the interactions better. Maybe you need a few less people because your people can handle a slightly larger caseload. But I think when we talk about, I just don't think I think we're far away from a world where it's where we're just like, it's all AI salespeople or it's all AI support people. You, or it's all AI evangelists. I think that your salespeople, your support people become more powerful when they use AI. But I don't buy the replacement model. I think there's still things that people are really good at that people are going to keep being good at and just get better at it with AI. So I'm curious to see what your guys' take on all that is.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest conversation point of AI in general, really. And I think it's very divisive. I mean, because we don't know, right? It's all up in the air.
Yeah.
An optimist, might think it that way. A pessimist might obviously think that, they're taking all of our jobs, but it's to be seen. I mean, at its current state, for sure that they are productivity tools that help enhance an employee's productivity. I agree with that, like 100%. Current state, but we at the rate that these models are being developed, we have no idea like what the future holds, really. And like even I haven't read too much about it, but like I've seen some like benchmarks of O1 performance, like being at like PhD level test takers or whatnot, and that kind of brings out the pessimist in me and kind of scares me a little bit. So like we really don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's definitely like, I think the biggest question at this point.
Okay. I think to me there's like a wider conversation, which is like we haven't really updated how we relate to technology. I think technology was often positioned and presented as like it will erase, it replaces. I actually think within tools like when we think about things like AI, we can really like rethink our relationship to technology. And I think we've been overdue kind of for this, like I think when we had to like engage with cell phones, right? It's like, okay, well, how do we relate to this tool? When we had an iPod, right? Like, do you carry your phone, right? Do you carry your iPod where you go, everywhere you go with you? Like, do you just listen to your iPod in your car, not your car, like at home? But I do think there are these things that kind of unlock different ways to relate. So I actually think kind of this aspect of like, we can define the terms, and versus if we tell ourselves we're only going to build or relate to technology the same way we've been doing it, like I think that does us a disservice, because technology has evolved so much to being more than just like make me as a human better, right? Like it can do so much. So I don't know, that's to me what comes to mind, which is like, how do we redefine that relationship to technology, from a wider stance.
Also, just now I was thinking too that like also sometimes the reality of things doesn't necessarily matter, right? Like, and that might sound a little weird, but let me just like explain.
We're with you. We're walking with you.
Yeah. So like what I'm saying is, let's say these models are not capable of replacing an employee, right? Let's just say that that's the case, but in reality, that might not matter, because to an executive board of a company, they could use that as like an excuse, for example, to take some actions to so even though the reality of the tool, of the tech, can't do something, in reality, people are gonna still.
How are they acting on it?
Yeah, people are still going to act
true,
depending on like a perception of things. So, and we have already seen that. Like we have seen instances of companies openly saying that, hey, we've laid off workforces because of AI improvements or whatnot. I don't have any specific companies that come to mind, but like I've seen articles out there.
Yeah.
So, it might not matter, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a good
That's-
point. People are going to do what they do.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. I think also, I think the other thing I would add before we go to Singapore, even though we're not really going, but I mean, we are going. But I think the other thing too is just like the beautiful thing about these things is that you can customize it for what you have. And I think when we have this like one size fits all approach, like maybe for your company, like the best place of impact for you might not necessarily be like with your salespeople, right? Like kind of, throwing a sprinkle of AI, in their sales process. It might be that like there are other parts of your business that can benefit from it. So I do think actually like asking oneself like how can I augment my business and what is most relevant for my specific business or my specific issue, rather than this kind of, well, Salesforce did it or this company did it like that, so we should do that too. And I think that does any company a disservice. So those are my thoughts on stuff. Okay, great. We have a breaking news. We stopped this current session to let you know lemon and peppermint. Wow.
Are both
chamomile.
out. Chamomile
Wow.
it is.
Wow.
Strong
Wow.
choice.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Well, good night, Stephen. There you go. Chamomile, definitely a good nighttime tea. Very, very big fan.
Wow.
And yeah, what we're, it's I guess it's 3:00 over there on the East Coast, 3 p.m. So maybe it is nap time. I don't know.
It's
but yeah,
chamomile.
Breaking
chamomile
news.
time.
Thank you for the update, Stephen. We're here for you.
We're on T-Watch. We are on T-Watch. T-Watch. That'll be our other segment. Yeah. Okay, so now it's always great to kind of hear about, there's so much happening within the DevNet. And I feel like, our fellow teammates are doing lots of awesome things. And this time our lovely teammate, Anthony, found himself in Singapore. Well, you didn't just find yourself in Singapore. You took a plane and
got on a random plane and it popped out and saying no.
So, but Signal is one of our huge events. We've been doing these kind of regional signals, and we thought it would be great to have Anthony just kind of give us a recap, take us to Singapore, unless you want to buy a flight to Singapore. But the next best thing is Anthony talking to you about how the DevNet enjoyed Singapore, and just kind of things that happened there. So I will pass it over to you, Anthony, just to kind of like, why Singapore, what was happening, just kind of curious. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So it was a fantastic event, I'll say that. So just a little more context, like if you're not familiar, Signal is an annual conference that we hold at Twilio. It's kind of like our big bread and butter conference, like a AWS reInvent or a Google I/O or whatnot. And this year we did them regionally. So one of them was in Sao Paulo. Then we did one in Singapore, and then actually tomorrow we're doing one in London. So if you happen to be in London, feel free to join that one tomorrow. But yeah, essentially they're regional events where we have keynotes, demonstrations, various activations that showcase Twilio and kind of our showcasing essentially what you can use our platform to do. And it was a great event. I think we had 400 attendees in Singapore. And yeah, there's somebody posted a link to our website, which you could check out. But I also wanted to share a video that like highlights the event. Let me see if I could find that video. Just give me a second, and I can kind of like talk through it.
Sounds good. Alex, have you visited Singapore? Yeah,
I have. Yeah, I got to.
Okay.
I've done a few little quit my job, disappear for a minute, and one of them I wound up in Singapore. It was a pretty weird experience for me because I'd come off like very dirtbag backpacking. And a former coworker happened to be there staying at a super nice hotel and was kind enough to let me to get a room with 2 beds and let me stay at this like super fancy hotel while he was out like working all day. I think I spent like 2 hours in the shower of this hotel. But Singapore was such a cool place to wander around. The food was amazing. It's a really, really neat city. And I'm glad you got to experience it, Anthony. Did you get around a little bit outside of the event too?
So last year I also went to Singapore,
Okay.
and last year was kind of like it was my first time there, and that's kind of where I did all of my touristy activities
Nice.
and got to explore the city. This year, I was super busy with getting ready for
Business.
things. Yeah, it was like all business, so like it was kind of sad because I had like jet lag, and then I had to really prepare for it. So I kind of had to stay in the hotel like most of the time, which was kind of a bummer, but it's okay because the event went well. And then afterwards, I ended up traveling a bit. So I went to Thailand and
Nice.
Hong Kong actually. So that was when I got to really enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Singapore itself is such a cool country. It's very tiny. If you haven't been, it's very modern, very clean. Like Alex said, delicious food.
I'm sold. I'm
Yeah,
sold.
it's the
That's
food
great.
is so good.
Yeah.
It's very inexpensive too. And like the food is.
Food's inexpensive. A lot of things are
Flight.
expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
it's just you need a little balance. Cool. Okay, so you have a video for
Yeah,
us.
I have the video up. So what I'm gonna do is so this by the way is a blog post that just kind of like recaps the event. So feel free to check this out. I think we could post the
I got
post
it.
the
It's
link.
in there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this highlight video. And should I put it in full screen or just leave it like this? What do you think?
Do full screen. Why not?
Full screen. Okay.
Yeah, and you can pause throughout and give us a little context of what we're seeing.
So yeah, that's essentially what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna play it and like hit pause every once in a while. But yeah, I mean this is what Singapore looks like if you haven't seen what the city is. Beautiful skyline. Here is the registration desk. You can see a lot of people registering for the event.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are 400 registrations.
I feel like Twilio for these events does such a good job of branding. Like that's such a cool entryway right there.
Yeah.
Like the Signal teams and the Transport teams. Shout out to our brand teams because they make these spaces look super special for the events.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. Like as you could see from this, I don't even know what you call it. This entrance just looks really cool. Yeah, as Alex mentioned, the branding is beautiful. Like this area was essentially like a reception hall where you could talk and network with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those phone booths?
Yeah. These are phone booths.
Okay.
So these were created by our team, so the DevNet, and yeah, they're phone booths. If you go to the Signal in London, they're gonna look like the famous London booths. If you attended the Sao Paulo one, they look like Sao Paulo phone booths, which are
Nice.
distinct and unique in itself. But essentially, these were AI phone booths. So if you look at the screenshot right here, you can see there's a phone there, and what you do is you just pick up the phone and you essentially have a conversation with an AI. And AI will give you recommendations on things that you could do in Singapore. And it was just a really cool like activation that just showcases what you could do with Twilio and AI.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool thing. People enjoyed it.
In that last
too. Yeah, that's Felipe. Yeah, I mean, you could just see people talking and whatnot.
What was okay? That was another one. That was another activation we did, right?
Yeah, this is another activation called
with
the
Emily.
with Emily. So this is a verify escape game. So essentially, how it worked is we had these boxes here that you could see, and we had little iPads here that you would use to unlock these boxes. So what the first thing you do is you pull out your phone, you put your phone inside of the box, and the box is going to lock. And in order to unlock the box, you would have to solve a passcode. And we had like I don't know if anyone's played Wordle, but essentially you would kind of use a Wordle-like structure to guess what the passcode is, and then once you get it, you can unlock the box and then get your phone again. So it was a really cool activation that the team built.
Barista bot we got there.
Yeah. This one's a barista bot. So with this, you scan a QR code, and in WhatsApp, you can actually like select what drink you want. So for example, if I want like a latte or whatever, I push the option, and then it gets sent to this barista, and then they'll make the latte. And then once it's done, they send you a confirmation that it's ready, and then you go pick it up. So
nice. I feel like this was like our greatest hits of activations.
Yeah.
I love seeing all these. I wish I've had the barista bot. I haven't had the other ones. So
it was. Yeah, they were all really awesome, and a lot of them were created by our DevNet team, which is really cool. And here's just some highlights from like the keynotes and various sessions. So earlier, Kozema, our CEO, was he kind of kicked it off and introduced some things with Twilio and Segment and things that we're doing.
Were there any people from Twilio or any speakers that you got a chance to see that you were like particularly impressed by?
So unfortunately for me, I didn't get to see any of them.
You were working.
I was
business.
Business. It was all business for me, so I didn't really get to experience any of these sessions or whatnot, which is kind of a bummer. But
Vanessa, I mean, up there,
that was Vanessa up there, and these are various talks.
You gave some talks too. Like we had, we also had a whole developer segment. So if you scroll down, I think we got pictures from
Golly gee.
Oh
yeah.
So like, tell me about what well, first of all, I have a really important question about this particular picture.
Okay.
If you scroll down just a hair, it says Anthony presents an OpenAI real-time API integration. Anthony, what are you wearing up there? Because it looks like you're wearing a pilot costume.
Yeah, I was wearing a pilot costume.
Nice.
So I actually had two costumes, and I was the only person in costume, so it was very awkward.
Next time we're together, we can both wear costumes.
Just imagine like 500 people in an area, everyone's dressed in business casual clothing, and then you've got a guy dressed in a pilot costume and a magician. He's wearing a magician hat and has a wand. That was me.
Did you do your magic trick there too?
Yeah, I did my magic trick there. So in this picture,
if you want to see Anthony's magic trick, we'll find it. But he came on stream like forever ago and showed us his magic trick. So we'll find that and you can check it out.
Hey, Felipe.
Felipe's here. You just missed yourself on screen, Felipe.
Yeah.
But anyway, so tell us about the pilot costume, which
So
shout out for wearing that. Great moves.
Thank you. So the pilot costume was pretty interesting. Essentially, I was dressed up as a pilot, and I took developers or people in the audience I took them on a flight experience. So during the demo, I pretended to work for a company called Twilio Air, which was an airlines company, hence the pilot costume. And essentially, I took people on a journey on booking a flight. And then throughout that whole booking experience, I would use various Twilio products and features. And I built it along the way, and we kind of iterated on it. And it was pretty cool. I don't know if I could say it was cool because I was the one who gave the presentation, but I mean, I thought it went well. I mean, you could in the picture you could see like we've got audience members there, and then here I'm doing like a live coding demo using the real-time API integration. And at the end, what I did is I ended up calling our support number and then having a conversation with a OpenAI chatbot. And essentially I asked it like, hey, could you give me some recommendations on things to do while I'm here in Singapore? And it kind of like understood some context of the fact that I had booked a flight from Seattle to Singapore and whatnot.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a pretty cool demo. And then it wasn't just me who gave a demo. We had various developer talks. So that was the first one.
Question before we move on.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that you'll dress up the next time you give a demo?
I love dressing up.
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted
think
to
it's
hear.
fun.
I didn't want you to be like, well, I was the only one. So
no.
Let's get in the spirit of it. Next time I give a demo, maybe I'll dress up. Let's get there.
Yeah, I think it added to the demo. At least I like to think so myself.
We're performers over here in DevNet, right?
Yeah, I even so for example, like on the screen, it kind of looked like you were in a cockpit, and then I was, dressed in a pilot suit, and then I would talk on my little microphone, like, hey everybody, fasten your seatbelts and whatnot. It was a little bit cheesy, but it was kind of fun. And then for the second costume that Alex was talking about, I dressed up as a magician, and then I performed like this magic trick with playing cards. And basically, I use a Twilio app to guess a card that you choose. And yeah, it was really fun. So here we have a picture of Marius doing his talk on Twilio plus AI. So he kind of built upon the theme of travel, and he built out a chat bot with WhatsApp and OpenAI that helps you book a car reservation via WhatsApp. Yeah, and it was a very, very good demo from Marius.
He's probably going to do that again tomorrow, is my hunch, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he's doing the same talk in London. So again, if you're in the London area and you want to see Signal tomorrow, check it out. And yeah, good luck to the team.
Yeah.
And then Kaylin gave the final talk of the day for the developer track, and hers was talking about Voice React Native SDK. She used Segment and Flex as well, and also built upon the theme of travel, and gave a really great demo. But yeah, again, if you want to read more about the event itself,
there's the blog.
There's the blog.
Yeah. I will say I'm kind of curious, like, especially for these in-person events, like, it's just anything goes. I think, what have you found that folks are really like looking for, especially in these like IRL spaces?
I mean, definitely the activations and the demos in person that you can give really are a hit. So for example, like people going up to the escape game that I mentioned earlier, or people going up to the phone booth, or people seeing the magic tricks are huge hits, because they're ways for people to actually interact with Twilio or interact with technology in person, and you get to see a really, really cool use case of how it's being used. And it's something that you can't get online, right? Like, like you could kind of see a demo online, but it doesn't really hit as hard whenever, unless you're in person and you actually see it and actually play with it, actually use it. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you're playing a video game, it's a lot more fun when you're playing it rather than just like watching it on stream, right? So I think that's kind of debatable though, because I know a lot of people love watching gaming streams.
There's like a whole
we're on Twitch, Anthony.
I know.
I was like, the debatable. Twitch gods will find us. They'll be like,
come
both
on,
are fun. It's fun to watch people code. It's fun to code. It's fun to watch people play games. It's fun to game. But yeah, like there's not always a ton of. I think there's something else too with Twilio where we do all interact with it regularly, but you don't always know, right? Like people have done DoorDash, people have used, a lot of the airlines that do these things. Like we interact with Twilio probably on a nearly daily basis, but it's just so hidden that you don't know. So I that's why I love some of these activations, because I think it's fun to play with that and to see. I mean, I do either of you guys do this? Whenever I get a text message of any sort, I like not from anybody, but like I put it into lookup and see a Twilio number.
You're like, are you connected? No, I think like because Twilio is like often the supporting like we're not the main event sometimes and we want to let people shine. I think the ability to see kind of Twilio in its essence in action, there's something kind of cool with like Twilio, like seeing, okay, this is the thing that powers a lot of the this is the thing that powers all the things. No, this is pretty exciting. Yeah, no, I think like especially when you're doing presentations in like different markets, I'm actually curious about like what did you notice about the market in Singapore, right? Like kind of what was top of mind for the devs in that space. Yeah, just kind of curious, just like if we can get some market landscape.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. So in Singapore specifically, like regulations are a lot different. I mean, regulations are different, for every country, but in Singapore specifically, registering a number for text messaging is actually pretty difficult in Singapore. Like there's a whole process, and I would argue that it's a little bit more complicated than even the US landscape. So for us, one of the focuses was on voice. So voice in Singapore and APJ is actually a pretty high priority product. So a lot of the demos were revolved around voice, hence the real-time API demo. It used voice, and also WhatsApp is huge, right? Because because like SMS, like I mentioned, is a little bit more restrictive in that region. So WhatsApp is kind of like the main way that people communicate through text. So WhatsApp was highly featured there. Like one of the things that we talked about was WhatsApp phone calling. So you might be familiar with WhatsApp for text messaging, but now we have WhatsApp for voice calling, which is really cool. And yeah, I think that like there are regional differences, mostly because of market demands and regulations. But yeah, it is interesting because every market is kind of different, right? We also talked about RCS, which is a huge topic. So
RCS is hot.
RCS is really hot. Yeah. So we still don't know exactly the timeline for RCS in Singapore, and it's kind of we're kind of dependent on carriers and whatnot, but we are hopeful that it will be ready in 2025 or in the near future. But yeah, we gave kind of like a sneak preview of RCS during the keynotes. And yeah, I'd say those were the main things. Obviously, segment is a huge part of our business, and it's basically the way we use our data to help enhance AI, essentially, right? So big focus for us.
Nice.
No, that's wrong. Okay. It's always.
Yeah. I think I might have some idea of when things are happening. I just got to find where that is. But anyways, for RCS, because I know it's like it's moving. It's moving onto new carriers and things like that. Like I don't have it yet because I'm on AT&T. Yeah, that's gonna be the last carrier to get it, unfortunately. But so it goes. Have you been able to play with RCS much? I know. Like this, I think we're moving into like what's kind of new with messaging, which is a super exciting topic too. But like, have you been able to play with RCS much?
As a developer or as a user? Like as a user, I'm sure a lot of us have played with it, especially if you have an iPhone. You might not even know it because if you're using iMessage, for example, a lot of that is essentially using RCS, right? Especially whenever you react to a message or whatnot. And I don't know, I'm an Android user, so I don't know exactly what the deal is, but I believe that Android is like the green bubble, right? And RCS is the blue bubble. Is that right?
I think iMessage is the blue bubble.
Oh, iMessage is the blue bubble.
So RCS is similar to iMessage in some of its features, like you can react. Like there's small things that I've noticed. Like I can now do better reactions to people with green bubbles on my iPhone.
Oh,
Like that's a big thing. But so I think they're making the like for years Apple has made the experience with iMessage really great and refused to kind of like let the green bubbles in. And with RCS, it adds a lot more of that better experience so that we can have better chats with all of our friends.
so what colors are there? Is it going to be like one color?
Blue and green. My hunch is it's going to stay green. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the whole.
Yeah, Apple, Apple decides that it wants to. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think. Yeah, Apple can sometimes be mean to the fellow Android users. I'm like, we're all just messaging each other. Can't we all?
Can't we
you know,
all?
Talk. Can't we all get
We
along?
just truly. Anthony, I'm curious. What are you building? Like, what are you tinkering with these days? Like, what in your Anthony spare time? What are you doing?
So right now I am. So as we talked about earlier, I showcased my magic trick, which I haven't really told many people how to build it. Just a couple of folks, but right now I'm working on version 2 of the trick, and I don't really want to overpromise, but I think it's going to be a better experience than what it currently is. So right now, how it works, just FYI, is I have a deck of cards and I like put them face down, and then I have an audience member select one card, and then what I do is I pull out my phone and then I text it and I say, hey, what is their card, and then it tells me what their card is, and that's super cool. But I'm still actually brainstorming it, and I do have a couple of ideas, but essentially I want to make the interaction so that instead of me pulling out my phone and interacting with it, I want them to pull out their phone and then interact with it. And then because at that point there's no debate, or there's no like questioning of, hey, you're using your phone and you're using a camera or whatever, you're using a chip inside of your phone to do this. So that's my current idea. I haven't started on it quite yet, but I'm still thinking about it. And I had like a little brainstorming session with one of my friends the other day. He was actually helping me come up with new ideas for the trick. But yeah, I'm super excited to build that out, and I'm planning on showcasing it in a couple of weeks at an event. So hopefully you'll get to see it, version 2.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool. Pretty good. Okay, this is exciting stuff. Okay, I am also, hey y'all, like we said, we are testing out different segments, so feedback will always be welcomed. We're calling this the group chat. So the group chat is basically where you'll get like the in the know behind the scenes on just like what's happening, in the group chat, because it's the group chat. So I am kind of curious. So, learning, just kind of getting a little bit curious about like what is happening in the land of messaging. Like what can you drop in the group chat for us?
Yeah. So I could talk about, oh yeah, I love the format. Thank you. So in December, we are going to launch something called SMPP, and that stands for short message peer-to-peer. Essentially, if you think of Twilio messaging, we're using HTTP to send out messages, but with this API, we're using the internet. So essentially, you can send out an SMS over the internet, and this is going to be generally available, I believe, in December.
Cool.
So that's something to look out for. Very cool. And then in terms of RCS, as we talked about earlier, RCS is already out, but what
Yeah.
we're doing is we're adding. So how we're doing the rollout for RCS is essentially we do the initial launch. It doesn't include every feature, but as time goes on, we're going to add things here and there to it.
I happen to have some info there.
Oh, cool.
Oh, didn't add it to stage. Rough timelines. Can't guarantee that this will stay, but what we're looking at is Verizon's just getting onboarded. I think before the end of the year, we're hoping to have T-Mobile at least in beta, possibly general available on H1, and then first half of next year, we're looking at AT&T coming on board. But it's a carrier thing that we're getting through, but we're working through that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's all about the carriers at the end of the day. But yeah.
Which we worry about, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, for RCS, one of the things we're adding in November, it's going to be in beta, public beta, is the ability to use rich cards in RCS. So in our initial launch, that wasn't included, but now you'll be able to have like various media cards and whatnot in your RCS messages, which is kind of like the whole purpose of RCS. So that's great. What else can I talk about?
I mean, look at the name here, group chat.
Oh yeah, group chat. Yeah. So group chat essentially is a group chat in conversations. So instead of just sending one-to-one messages, you can have a group chat, kind of like what we're doing right now.
This is not planned, but it works.
Yeah, and the name
Inspiration comes from
works out.
everywhere.
Oh man, my hair is just realized how wonky my hair
You're
is.
good.
But yeah, here I can drop a doc to group chat in here.
So would that's a good question from Stephen Nick. Would that just be using the messaging content template API, the RCS card? So is it the same content API?
So I believe we are launching that too. I think it's something different. I'm actually looking at our roadmap right now, so give me 1 second. What we're doing is we're launching a content template builder for RCS, and that's going to be in pilot. So you can use the content template builder with RCS, but it's going to be in pilot. So essentially, you're going to have to get access to it, request it.
Cool.
But what I mentioned earlier with rich media is it's different than the content template, because with the content template you have various template types, but what I'm talking about is just the rich media,
which we've been able to do this for a while on WhatsApp.
With WhatsApp.
You could see on WhatsApp we could do things like give you 3 options and you just one click choose one. I actually recently, I think they're through iMessage, but interacted with a business that uses these rich media, and it is so nice. It's a whole different way of interacting with this stuff. So it's I'm pretty pumped about it.
So much better than just pushing 1 or 2 or
and then Stephen Nick already pulled up our docs for group texting. It's right there. Thank you. We love having people who find things for us in chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm glad that chamomile hasn't kicked in too hard yet. We're good there. But yeah, I'm super excited for group texting. This is something that I've been asked about a bunch. There was a super cool startup that was helping couples in relationships just get deeper in their relationship. And they wanted to use group text, and we didn't have it a year or 2 ago, and now we do. So I'm super excited. That was also, if I'm not mistaken, a little more inside baseball there, a carrier thing. I think we had it at one point, and then one carrier changed how they do things, and we had to take it off, and then we got it back now. So there's been a little bit of back and forth with the group texting, but it's back, which is awesome.
It's back.
Yeah.
It's coming back. No, yeah. So yeah, we are definitely,
video.
whenever
video's back
I feel
too.
like
video.
Yeah. Yeah, it is back. Yes, and we could. Yeah, yeah. Video has made a comeback. No, yeah, because we love to make sure that we're like kind of keeping y'all in the loop. You know, we're among friends here. We're among friends here. So
Yeah.
you know, y'all get the first look here. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I guess there are like two other questions I have for you, Anthony. I think one, what is exciting for you in this, like in just like in the messaging space, right? Like you spend a lot of time with in messaging. Just kind of curious, like what, yeah, like what are you excited about? What are some trends that you're observing? So yeah, just kind of curious about like the land of messaging.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously RCS is the most exciting thing at the moment, just because it's essentially a new channel, a new messaging channel. So whenever you're introducing a new channel, I think it just increases the way that you can communicate with people, right? Because everyone has different channel preferences. So that's really cool. And I just love the fact that like RCS is a more modern approach. It's a more modern protocol. So essentially you can like Alex was talking about, you can have essentially better conversations. Because I mean, messaging is cool, don't get me wrong, but like it's a little bit like old, right? To be honest with you, it's a little bit stale, and just seeing a new player in there with these with the way that you can interact and engage with messages, it's just refreshing, and I'm really excited about it, and looking forward to playing around with it more. Because at the end of the day, like I think it's just better for everyone. The fact that you can interact with messages more than just like texting just out, just a sentence or whatnot, like that gets kind of old. But the fact that you can actually interact with them and do different things with the messages is just refreshing. So that's definitely the biggest thing for me. And yeah, I mean, I don't think even though messaging is like somewhat old technology, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Especially when you consider that RCS and all these new ways to interact with messages is improving. I don't see it going away for quite a while. So
yeah,
no, yeah.
It just makes it more viable. It makes it feel a little bit more like an app experience, and
yeah,
you're gonna get that without having to download apps necessarily. So
yeah,
it's good.
It's kind of interesting, and I think even I know you have like design overlap, right, in your background. So like, I think, how do you feel about the, I don't know, like the designification, right? Like of just like everything becoming more the interface zhuzhed up, like like
I mean, it's just prettier, I guess. like
yeah,
that's true.
It is.
It really is, like, because it sometimes, let's say you're looking at a chat conversation, and then it's just like a bunch of text, and like sometimes it's hard to skim through a message and find what you're looking for. But like, imagine if there's like a card right in front of you that has like buttons that you could click on, or like various things that just like stand out. It just makes the whole design and experience like way better for a user's perspective. And yeah, I just think it's really exciting. Yeah, hoping that it comes to more carriers and becomes more available to people worldwide. I think that's a big thing, because right now it's only available, like Alex mentioned, with certain carriers in the US and Canada, I believe. So the more we spread it, the more adoption we get, the better it's going to be, because at the end of the day, that's what you need. You need adoption from users for it to really work, right? And then once everyone's on board, then you really see the impacts of it.
Yeah.
No, that is super cool.
Sweet. Anthony, thank you so much for filling us in on the future of messaging.
No problem.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us here today. Do you have any like final thoughts, anything outside of the Twilio world that you're excited about?
I'm excited about the holidays.
There you go.
Yeah.
Gonna go see some family, or just eat a lot of food for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, gonna see some family. just this past weekend, I went to Portland and did some holiday shopping because in Oregon there's no sales tax. So
Yes.
yeah, so I just took a road trip down there and just bought a bunch of stuff. And yesterday I was playing around with decorations, and I dropped an ornament and it broke and it shattered. Yeah, and I was really bummed about it. And I was like, oh, I'm not like I'm a builder, so I'm gonna build it back. So I used some super glue, and I super glued it back together. But
I'm a builder.
now I've got super glue all over my hands, and it's been stuck on my hands for like a day, and I don't know how to get rid of it.
There you go. Good luck. That's impossible. Okay, it's there forever now. It's just part of your skin.
Because, okay, Anthony, because you can't believe everything you read on the internet, as a local representative in the Seattle area, can you let me know, did they really clean the gum wall? I thought it was... They
cleaned down the gum wall, yeah.
Okay, so it's real. It wasn't
what's
AI.
The gum wall?
So, you don't know the gum wall. Okay, so the gum wall is the gross gum wall of Seattle.
Gross.
Like, it's gross. So gross. It's essentially like an alley with a wall that's full of used gum. People get their used gum and they stick it on the wall, and it's like a huge wall that's covered with gum. It smells terrible. Yeah, it's disgusting. And pretty recently.
Yeah, that doesn't look pleasant.
No, it's not pleasant.
I was legit disturbed.
Yeah, everyone's disturbed that sees it.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's why I was like, is it AI? Is it true? Is it just because you don't know what I told you? Okay, wow. So they did clean it.
Yeah, but they did clean it up. They used like these high pressure water hoses or whatever, and they got rid of all the gum. I heard it was the first time they've done it since 2019. So like, some people are upset about it. Others are happy about it. I guess I don't know. Because like, it is a Seattle thing, like getting rid of...
Have you ever contributed?
I've never contributed, but I've been there, and like, I was grossed out. Yeah, it's so gross.
I was just like, thank you. Thank you, local. Now, in addition to the group chat, we have local reporting. So you never know.
On the ground in Seattle.
On the ground reporting. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's a place that I take like friends that are visiting to like gross them out, and then they end up hating the city. So it's a good way of getting people to not like the city. That
reminds me of something that I saw recently. The Denver airport did a
really?
Like engagement on X where they were like, when you land in Hawaii, you get a lei. What should people get when they land in Denver? Like, what's the thing? And there were some great funny ideas, like an oxygen canister was one of them. But one of them was very snarky, and they're like, a ticket home. I was like, whoa.
Whoa there, bud.
That's intense.
No, that's real. That's real. Well, thank you for your on the ground reporting, live from Seattle. As always, Anthony, always so awesome, just like learning from you and just like hearing what's up within your world. We definitely want to make sure we see like the next iteration of the magic trick, but you know where to find us. Definitely always welcome on the stream. But yeah, thank you so much, Anthony, for hanging out with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, after I finish V2, maybe I'll hop on the stream again and show it to y'all.
We would love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony. Bianca, that was so much fun. Anthony's just so much fun to talk to, and that was
I agree.
On the ground reporting. I like that. So chat, let us know what you thought of a little bit more structure to this with our segments and whatnot. We're trying something new, trying to make it feel a little better, and working with our producer, Chef Brent, to kind of do to get some videos out of this too, right? We wanna mix it into the socials, and we will be, as far as I know, we're gonna be here next week. So we'll be doing our stream before Thanksgiving, and we're gonna be here for the next bunch of weeks. We got some exciting things. I'm not, at some point we'll get Andrew.dev on here, doing a little build for us and just introducing himself.
And chat, if you have any cool builds that you wanted to take a look at over the, sorry y'all, I The weather is getting to me. But yes, chat, if you have any cool builds that you would love to see us create on stream, let's do it. Let's knock through these holiday builds. So yeah, feel free to suggest anything. But yeah, as always, it's such a blast hanging out. Also, Alex, like, this is great. Because the same way that we had the energy back in like Marchish, right? To just kind of go for it. I feel like we're just continuing to iterate. So this is awesome. As always, chat, y'all are, this is great.
You're why we're here.
Basically, essentially. Yeah. That's what's really on my heart.
Yeah.
So, all right. So next week we'll see y'all Tuesday. Yeah. Come join us for some pre-gratitude energy. So we'll see you next Tuesday, 2 p.m. EST. But all time zones welcomed. But yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday, 2 p.m. on stream. Twilio Devs.
Twilio, Twitch.
And if you're watching the recording, what do we want to say to the people watching the recording? Mm-hmm. Hi, recording people. I don't know.
We care about you too.
Yeah.
Leave comments. We'll look at them. We see them.
Put a smiley face if you're watching the recording of this.
You made it to the end.
If you made it to basically. Alrighty, y'all. We'll see y'all Tuesday, 2 p.m. Thank y'all.
Bye.